Kansas City, and welcome to Speak Up. We're back, season 3, and we are ready. We have so much to impact, so much going on in Kansas City, and we are ready to go. Again, I'm coming back with Televida. You know Televida. They are the #1 production going on in Kansas City right now through and Exofilm. So get ready. Hold on to your horses because you know right now we are in the middle of election season in Kansas City. There's a whole lot going on and there's a lot of candidates. And so what we've decided on Speak Up, we're going to start out by interviewing and talking to the candidates. We want to know who you are. What are you going to do for us? What are you saying you're going to do for us? And actually, what are you going to do? So I want to start out talking to you about the governor's seat. You know, the governor of the state of Missouri is a very important seat, and it is governing over all of our cities. And we need to make sure that the person that we sit in that seat is the person that is going to be impactful and is going to think about the whole of the state. I want to introduce you to a gentleman that I know. I call him friend. Most of us call him bishop or pastor. He has been around Kansas City, I believe, all his life. And he is a true Missourian. I want to talk to you a little bit about Bishop Eric Morrison. He has been the pastor of Kingdom Word Church for nearly 24 years. You know, that's what we need now, someone who worships. He has used his education to lead and serve the community, improving educational problems, and has been the emphasis for him is in the past few years. Now he has decided to run for Missouri governor. Due to this, his concern of the rural Missouri and the suburbs and the urban communities. He is not just thinking about one area. So we want to take this time, we want to welcome Bishop Eric Morrison to our stage. Bishop, thank you for coming on my show. I'm just like thrilled to have you. I know we've talked a lot about the governor's seat.
Yes.
And before we dive down into that, tell Kansas City a little bit more about who you are, because you know I just gave a quick overview.
Yeah.
And I know that you and I met probably six or seven years ago. We've been friends ever since.
Yeah.
I know you, but tell Kansas City who you are.
Well, Kim, thank you for having me, first of all.
Absolutely.
And I'm grateful and just thankful to God to be here. As you pointed out, I'm a native of Kansas City, Missouri, all my life, 61 years. I've been right here in KC, graduated from Purcell High School, everything has transpired in my life has happened right here in Kansas City. Currently married for 36 years and 3 children, 5 grandchildren. And then, as you pointed out, I'm into my 23rd year of pastoral work right there at Kingdom Word Ministries. And just a lover of people, just love seeing people be blessed. That's my engine. That's my motivation. That's what I thrive to do on a day-to-day basis, is to see people get better.
So we talk about the governor's seat.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take a deep dive into it, a deeper dive. But I want to start out by talking about communities.
Okay.
You know, in our community, especially the urban community or the Black community of Kansas City,
Yes.
Understanding what the governor does and how being governor will affect the urban community. And we'll start there.
Okay. Great starting point. And so, and I'm going to utilize, as governor, even when I become the governor, I'm going to utilize my core beliefs all the time. Because prior to church, I lived a lifestyle where I was a menace to society. And it was overnight, my deliverance and getting to know who God is and my heart being changed and knowing that the way that God impacted my life and utilizing the different entities that were available and people of influence, brought them into my life, that why I'm here right now and who I am right now is because of those forms of resources, all right? So when we talk about our community, when we talk about our community from a governor's seat, there has to be people that you can trust when, and I'm just cutting through legislation and all of that. So
Right.
let's just hypothetically say we got the right people in the right places to receive the right resources to be allocated into our community, into the urban community, to bring up this place that we already identified to as a food desert, is poverty stricken, the school system is affected, and we're seeing, incredible hikes in crime and violence and car theft, you just name it. So from that governmental seat, from the governor's seat, then it's for me to be conscientious of who it is that I can really trust and depend on. Bring them into that place where we strategically talk things through to make sure that those resources are reaching those children, reaching those single parents, reaching the places, those brownfields for development, whatever it requires as governor. That's going to be one of the primary ways that we tackle this plight against the crime that we see,
Right.
and the poverty that we see, the marginalizing that we see, the disenfranchising we see. We're going to tackle it from that perspective.
Okay, so so we've hit urban. Now let's go to rural, because
Yes.
I have done some traveling around, and I've toured across the state.
Yes.
And one of the big issues in the rural areas or the rural parts of our country is the youth flight. Our young people are leaving the rural areas. There's no generations to continue with the farming of land and the building of the rural areas. They have some of the same issues that the urban communities have.
Yes.
Education. The resources are slim.
Yes.
So how do you address those issues? Because it's always been kind of either or. You have a government that either puts all its focus in the urban area or all its focus in the rural area. But how do you balance those two?
Yes, that's a phenomenal question, because just recently I can't remember exactly where it was, but we were in Farm Bureau County, and I'm an advocate for succession. I'm an advocate for succession. I know that I'm not going to be able to be the senior pastor, and I know what I've put in my children. I'm instilling that in my grandchildren right now. So, and now with the agricultural ingeniousness that is happening around agriculture that's going on right now, we have to be willing to share, and no one wants to stay in poverty. So a flight is, I don't see a future in this.
Right.
And that's because things have been depleted. No one took an interest in it. My logo and slogan is, Marston cares for our Missouri. Not just the urban, not just the rural, not just the suburban, but our. This is what the Bible says. Is that okay?
It's okay. Hey.
Jesus said, I came for the least of them, right? So wherever there's depletion, you can rest assured, as Eric Morrison as governor, listen, that's my fight. Grandpa need to be able to look over his shoulder, see his son looking at his grandson, showing him how to run the tractor. I'm not a farmer, so I don't want to start talking about old antiquated machinery, because it might be they're using something else now. But nevertheless, we have to be ready to stimulate, educate those young people, build up rural Missouri so that they will understand this is a great place to live. It's not getting ready to be bought out by some other country or none of that. This is a place where we were born, we was raised in, and we can live here. And everything that we see in suburban Missouri, everything that we see in urban Missouri, we can also see it in rural Missouri. I don't have to take flight and go live somewhere else just to enjoy some amenities that other people are enjoying when I could have been enjoying them myself. As governor, if it takes me 8 years, 2 terms, I'm going to make sure that we get rural looking like suburban, suburban looking like urban, and Missouri looking like a state that everybody want to come and live in.
All right. So since we were talking about the whole of Missouri, and I know that you are a proud Christian,
Yes.
but we have a diverse city.
Yes.
We have a diverse state.
Yes.
The country is diverse.
Yes.
We have religions and faith-based and believers of all faiths.
Yes.
And how do you see yourself making sure no one is feeling like they're being left out, or that their faith is no more important than Christianity?
That's so good. That's so good. I always have envisioned myself. Now, this is not relegated up on anyone else's perspective. That you can look at me and identify any kind, but I know what's in my heart. And I do know the true love of God in someone's heart is never judgmental. So when you come into my zone, you come into a non-judgmental zone. What you will always get from me is the highest level of respect. You're going to see loyalty, honesty, in spite of what your religious beliefs are. I'm here to put a smile on your face, to make sure that when you go to bed at night, you're not worrying about, is he getting ready to take this from me? Is he going to take that? Jesus didn't come and take nothing. He took sin. Now, if you evil, you're going to have a little confrontation going on if you're evil. But if you ain't evil, I think that as Isaiah said, come and let us reason together. So without judging you in whatever your religious beliefs are, that's where you are.
Yeah.
But I need you to know where I'm at, and that I am not getting ready to cross anybody's boundaries of belief, but I'm going to always let people know this is my core belief, and my core belief is to make sure that your life is better. That's what I believe in.
So let's kind of jump over to immigration.
Okay.
Immigration in the nation right now is one of the hottest topics.
It is.
When you start speaking about borders and the border walls and sanctuary cities and states, the big issue that it's being faced with some states shipping busloads of immigrants to other countries, and the rhetoric behind everyone coming across the border are criminals and rapists and murderers. How are you going to address that in the state of Missouri? Because there is a big movement in Missouri of people that are totally against immigration.
Yes.
And honestly, there's two sides, so I'm not going to judge either side, but I'd like to know your stance on immigration and how do we address the issue of immigration, and for lack of better words, and DACA.
That's so there is such a broad issue, and it's been a long-lasting problem. So you can go all the way back to Jimmy Carter. You hear me? You go back to 1619. You understand? So when we start talking about immigration, people have been coming into this country because it's the land of the free. So if we had started, from that perspective, you got to know people want to come. Number one.
Yeah.
Number two is even my children growing up and my grandchildren know in my house they are welcome to anything they want. But first you got to ask.
Yeah.
So there's proper protocol to everything. Then the third thing, I gotta, kind of dial it all down. So I don't want no one to feel, like I'm in a gray place, because I do have a position on it.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of spelling it out. The third thing is it's a federal issue before it's a state issue. So I wanna have the genius of those that have been around it, understand what's going on, because when one person is talking, that narrative that they can produce is so judgmental. And we know that everyone is not a criminal. Everyone is not coming across the border with fentanyl. Everyone is not coming across like that. Some people are literally trying to escape the poverty-stricken, the dictatorship of where they once were living. We know that. So when somebody puts all of that out, we know that's fabrication. But should there be a process of individuals when they do come into our country? Yes. So I believe that there's a process that everyone come in. There's a front door to my house. That's where the doorbell is. It's not a doorbell on my back door.
That's right.
So you should come through my front door, number one.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to say that to, here's, there's no gray in me. I'm not going to stand there and try to make it. If you come the right way, then there's a process.
Yeah.
But then you also have to understand that if you don't come the right way, I still got to take you through this process, and it's going to be longer for you because you didn't come the right way.
Right.
But I don't know about all of this, especially a child who was born here, an immigrant that is here, that have started a business, kids that went to college, and you want to, that is criminal, cynical, and evil.
All right.
All together.
Criminals, cynical,
and evil.
Yes.
On every level.
Yes.
You don't uproot people that have been here and have made a contribution to this country, to a state, to a county, to a city in which they're living in because of their ethnicity. That is, you now, for a better term, now you're describing the true essence of your heart, which is pointing strictly to being racist and being prejudiced on every level.
Yeah.
You don't mistreat people like that. You don't do people like that. So I hope I answered that question well enough for a person to understand. I'm not trying, I don't have no gray. It's you do it the right way. If you get in, then hey, there's a process to become a citizen of this country. Do it. Yeah. We want you to.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So let's address violence.
Okay.
And I started to say gun violence, but
yes.
we have so much more violence. A lot gun violence, because that's what's promoted.
Yes.
But there's domestic violence.
Yes.
There's child abuse.
Yes.
There is human trafficking.
Yes.
When we start thinking about the whole of violence, we talk about the gun violence a lot.
Yes.
Which needs to be addressed.
Yes.
But even bigger than gun violence are the rate of children and young people that are being snatched off their streets, being trafficked out of the state of Missouri.
Yes.
Missouri is one of the major cities that,
hub. Yes. Yeah,
we have surprisingly one of the largest numbers of statistics for human trafficking.
Yes.
And so just violence altogether. How do we bring our cities and our towns and the whole state of Missouri together to really address it instead of it being siloed, where each state, each city, each county, everybody is trying to address the same issue, but we're not collaborating and talking? What do you think can be done, if anything, to make that a state collaboration more than just, you take care of Kansas City, you take care of St. Louis. We got a little thing going on in Springfield.
Yeah.
Y'all handle your business and we'll send you some money. Well,
you just about resolved it. I think you
Need a
gave the
lieutenant governor?
solution. Yeah. I think that you're in the cabinet now. When it comes to violence, you have literally solved it. I think that's one of the places that we have to start. Ms. Kim, is trying to remove the divide of silo and each silo, as productive as a silo is, because some of them are very productive, but they're not touching enough. And so when there's a collaborative effort, when egos are removed, so people can come together and no one is trying to be responsible for being the person that resolved it, then we'll see a massive change in it. Violence, most of the time, the height of it, we see it in poverty-stricken places. Social services, to put some of our social services on steroids when it comes to foster home, kids that are aging out of foster care. We see a high number of those children being victimized. And then we have discovered that you made domestic violence one of the points of your conversation in violence. And there are non-reported offenders that are still in the homes, that are creating this rippling effect. Young men, young women being raped by stepfathers, stepmothers, and are now exposed to these predators that come in and snatch these children up, and now they're in that cycle. And I'm extrapolating right now the testimony of young women who were a part of this ring of child abductiveness and human trafficking. These are testimonies. I got a lot hearing. When you said that, it's just a plethora of it. And if we are not careful, we'll allow gun violence to overshadow a lot of the other violence that go on. Car theft, people breaking in homes, being violated in that mannerism. And we see a lot of it. And I'm not taking nothing away from what happens in suburban Missouri or any other place, but where there's a higher level of poverty, we see this the most. And we see those children that are being abducted and those kids that are entering into being trafficked are those children that come out of these broken homes, and the kids that are being released from the incarceration, juvenile centers, and they just feel like, hey, I didn't have nothing then. I came in, and now I'm about to come out, and I didn't take advantage of the courses and the education that was being provided while I was in that place.
Yeah.
Because there are success stories that come out of these juvenile incarcerated places. And so I think it's, like I said, we need to put a lot of our social services on steroids to capture these children.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Before they become victimized in these systems. We see it when they're in school, the acting out. Maybe the child is acting out because of what's going on in the home. So I think we zero in on it. And I think that the schools right now are beginning really to turn the corner by implementing different sources of resources in the school, making sure they're hungry, going home with food. And, I think that is building up. And again, when I look in the camera, if you are a president or or you give leadership to any of these type of community organizations, your organization by itself cannot do it all. We have to come together. We have to unify. And I believe as governor, I'll press that issue, because it's nothing I've never, since I've been pastoring, everything I've been asked to lead, everything I've gave leadership to, I've been asked to lead it because I like to bring people,
Right.
I'm a unifier.
Right.
To bring people in.
That's wonderful. So there's a couple of more issues that I'm going to try to tap into before we have to end, but I'm going to go to what's near and dear to my heart in the community that makes a big difference in communities of underserved, communities that are disenfranchised
Yes.
or disinvested, not just workforce, but small business development, small business opportunities, specifically minority small businesses, the
Yes.
Black and brown communities, where it's a lot harder to start a business, and it's a lot harder to find a brick and mortar, because if you go up and down the corridors of Kansas City, those storefronts are not very inviting to bring people to a business. And we oftentimes end up with businesses that may start out mom and pop and could grow into something really nice, but because of their location, they don't get what they need. And so one of my questions is, as the governor of the state,
Yes.
and we talk about the urban core, we talk about the rural community, we talk about the suburbs, because in the suburban areas, for a minority, it's hard to get a brick and mortar because the cost.
Yes.
It's so expensive. And so how do we actually grow and develop? Because we know workforce, minorities will hire minorities.
Yes.
And so workforce-wise, or opportunities for jobs, the better and the more we grow small businesses in this country or in our state or cities, the more and better will we be able to thrive and grow as a united community. What do you see as, and I know that's put a lot on your plate, you're going in with, I think a lot of times we think about, you're going to become the governor and we want you to answer all the problems and solve all the problems, and we got issues everywhere.
Yes.
So I want you to go home and solve my marriage. And my marriage is great, but that's how people look at it.
That's right.
We want our politicians to solve every one of our issues. My kid
Yes.
is errant. It's your fault, Governor.
Yes.
So the question is this: when we start talking about addressing the small business opportunities for the Black and brown community in the state of Missouri, one, how do we, have you thought about it? Is it on your agenda? And if so, what are your plans for it?
You was talking, and I thought about a place just off the top of my head, the Gift. Gift is a place that identifies to a lot of small Black business entrepreneurs that come in to get trained and develop and become those. We have self-employed and then we have entrepreneurs. All right. So self-employed, you getting up and you're working, you're doing your job, you're building, and now your brand is picking up and you have to hire. Now you have an employee. Now you're an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
And so we do know, and this is with, and I don't have no degree in economics, all right? I don't have no, but we know by those experts that it's the small businesses that are the engine that keeps the cities going, keeps the county going, keeps the state going, and this country going. So we got that. So then when we start looking at the diversity of where is the resources and the help, why is there such a lack in Black entrepreneurial, brown entrepreneurial? Why are there not these space is given for expansion of growth, mainstream visibility. Why has that went down? So when we start, and this is just me, and keep in mind, I'm not saying this in a prejudice or a racial way, but when we look at Black Wall Street, what caused that to transpire was the persons patronizing one another, trusting one another in whatever their product was, and feeding off of each other and developing. I believe that every community should have its own grocery store, its own bank, have its own school, its own hospital. Those entities are necessary, right? And so it takes those individuals like yourselves that are just have the degrees of learn in bringing it to the table. Let me give you an example, so I won't have anybody sitting up saying, what you trying to say? Let me do this. I'm a pastor, but I don't sing. I cannot play the piano or an organ. I cannot sing, play the piano or an organ. I have a musician that can do that. And so as governor, we have to be ready to show interest in trusting someone like a Kim Randolph Davis to say, hey, I need you to pull together other people that can explain to me, how do we get our communities, our small businesses to come up and be as robust as others are? That's the explanation I'm trying to.
So I'm going to give you something to think about when you get into the governor's seat.
Right.
When you go to the mansion and you're sitting at home and you're trying to find that, the MCDC, which is the Minority Chambers Development Center,
Yes.
is a minority building at
Okay.
9100 War Parkway, and it
Yes.
houses both the Black and Brown Chambers,
Yes.
the Heartland Black Chamber and the Hispanic Chamber.
Yes.
And these two chambers, that's what they do.
Wow.
And one of the things that when you mentioned gift, one of the things that we want to make sure that people understand, we have gift, we have Porterhouse KC, we have Prospect Business Association,
Yes.
we have several ESOs, we have Pathway Financial, we have all these ESOs, everybody's working in a silo. This is why you have the chambers. If you look at and figure out what the organizations actually do, we just signed an MOU with the Minority Development, the Minority Business Development Agency, the U.S. Minority Business Development Agency. Our Undersecretary, Mr. Eric Morrison, came down, Morissette came down and signed the MOU with both our chambers. And our job is to create that unity, that unify, that convening area that we bring in the experts
Yes.
to work with our small businesses. So I'm hoping that once you get into the governor's mansion or into the
Hold me
governor's
accountable,
office, I'm going
please.
to call you up and I'm going to say, Bishop,
Hold me accountable,
let me
please.
remind you.
That's right.
But honestly, Bishop, there's a lot of work to be done.
It is,
We
yes.
want to thank you for your service, for your time.
Thank you.
We want you to know that Missouri needs someone that cares about Missouri,
Yes.
the entire Missouri.
Yes.
And we are certainly hoping for the best, and we want the best person in that seat.
Yes, ma'am.
We believe that whoever God sends,
Yes.
we need to support them, and we need to make sure we hold them accountable.
Yes.
So if it be, we will make sure that we give you a call. Answer the phone.
Yes,
But again, thank you. We wish you all the best.
Thank you.
We want to make sure that people know that you're out here. You have an open door policy. You have any questions, give him a call.
Yes.
Thank you again for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for sticking with us for our new season of Speak Up. We want to thank Televida for always making sure that you get quality and professional feed every time and at every show. We look forward to seeing you again. Coming up are 2 more candidates for seats on the Kansas City side. Again, thank you and have a fantastic day. Don't forget, do something nice for someone today. Bye.